What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls? Joker back again, once again. So, with E3 around the corner, one of the games that I am super excited to see or learn anything about is Halo 6. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that I am a Halo fanatic. As far as video games go with expansive lores, it really was my first love. But unfortunately, Halo has been going downhill for years, starting with Halo Reach and hitting rock bottom with Halo 5. But that's my opinion. Maybe, just maybe, there's somebody out there who can change my mind? And maybe, just maybe, they run one of the biggest Halo lore channels on YouTube. Maybe, just maybe, Ian from Halo Canon is up to the challenge. A couple of weeks ago, actually probably a couple of months ago at this point, I sat down with Ian from Halo Canon and had a 2-hour conversation. Two lore nerds BSing over Halo. If you thought my knowledge of Destiny was impressive, it really does pale in comparison to what I know about the Halo universe. Ian is a great guy, and his Halo content is simply amazing. He is one of the content creators that actually inspired me to get into content creation. So, if you have an interest in Halo, if you for some reason haven't checked out Halo Canon, go ahead and head over to his channel, give him a sub, give him some likes, you will not regret it. And you know what, if you guys, while you're over there, could just flood his most recent video with Joker sends his regards, that would be fucking awesome. Anyways, in this near 2-hour long video, we talk about everything under the sun. The Halo games, the Halo books, the Halo lore, the Halo movies, the Halo TV show, the Halo art style. But most importantly, we talk about where we would like to see the franchise go. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn maybe, and I don't know, try to enjoy the video. But above all else, ladies and gents, boys and girls, stay frosty.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Halo Canon. If you're unfamiliar, I do kind of what Joker does, except exclusively for Halo. Cover the lore, what I like, what I don't like, and yeah, pretty much that.
Unscripted videos are always fun because they're awkward.
Oh yeah, very.
It's great. It's great. So, the genesis of this is because Twitter is such a terrible place to try to have arguments about
lore.
What are you talking
about? It's the greatest place.
Oh god, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, he's not wrong. It's
Change my mind.
Twitter's the greatest place for arguments. Change my mind. But yeah, so it's with 280 characters, you can't really have an in-depth discussion that makes any level of sense. But you try. Damn it if you don't try. So, basically my position is, to start this off, that Spartan 4s have been poorly written, poorly fleshed out. They lessen the experience of playing as a Spartan, and on top of that, kind of take away the horror of the Spartan program, you know? And they turn Spartans into this kind of dude bro jock, and you see this in a lot of the advertising that 343 did for Halo 5, where they're more like football players than they are soldiers. Or at least that's my interpretation. So I don't think that they've been done right. I think they lessen the experience of playing as a Spartan, and yeah, it takes away more than it adds. So, change my mind.
Now, when we're going over the overall Halo experience, it is kind of hard to argue against that. From a lore perspective, I think the idea is pretty much the logical conclusion of these Spartan programs at this point, as there's only so many times you can kidnap kids and make them into super soldiers, and for lack of a better phrase, keep that interesting, I think. Like the Spartan 3s were kind of like the pinnacle of that particular approach to super soldiers. And then, you know, again, going purely on lore here, the next logical step would have been to revert to bringing in adults. But I will agree with you when you say they have not been done the best justice, and in that way, it hasn't been sold to the community very well. Like, you know, I'd never had an issue with the dude bro personality because that's kind of what soldier. I don't want to degrade any soldiers or anything, but
no, you're fine, dude.
In popular media, that's how a lot of soldiers are portrayed in their off time. And I've talked to people in the service that have said, yeah, this isn't exactly out of character for, you know, based on their experiences. Others might disagree, obviously. I have no experience myself. So take whatever I say with as much salt as as many grains of salt, I should say, as you need.
Just a mountain of salt. Yeah. Just get salty about it.
Yeah. If you run out of salt to take, just mine some from our Halo. I'm sure, or there's plenty there.
Yeah. There.
Yeah. I got plenty of.
343 can do anything at this point that our Halo won't blow up about. Kind of like our Destiny. I don't.
Yeah.
I've contributed.
They're very similar. They're very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
So, our Destiny, I think, has a small benefit of being a little younger, so it's a slightly less jaded, I think. But
it's catching up quick, though.
Oh yeah, it's a Bungie community. But getting into what you said about taking away from the experience of playing as Spartans, I would agree if you approach it as if you approach Spartans as just a huge conglomerate or a giant whole. I don't know if I use that conglomerate term there.
I like it.
Right, but I don't know. In my mind, I separate the twos, the threes, and the fours into their classes, into their generations. So at least for me in that regard, it doesn't take away because they are each portrayed differently, and I feel their portrayal fits with what they are. But
okay, yeah, I feel that. So it's like one of the big things that you were talking about was they kind of less interesting after Spartan 3s with the kidnapping the kids, and I will kind of agree that the Gamma Spartans especially were the last real interesting Spartan group because damn those kids.
Yeah. We thought like, all right, it's already pretty fucked up that they kidnap kids, but how can they make that even worse? Well, let's make it so that they go primal whenever they're about to die.
Yeah, let's put them on drugs and then like make it to where they need other drugs as to not go ape shit.
Yeah. Like, if you're not familiar, anyone listening not familiar with the lore, the Gamma Spartans of the Spartan 3 class specifically were giving an extra cocktail of drugs that would activate like some of their primal brain centers or whatever. I don't know all the terminology there, and basically make them much fiercer the closer they were, the more damage they were taking, the closer they were to death. They had a brute berserk mode. Yeah. Of course, that had the downside when, for example, Dante G188 or something, I think. I don't remember his exact designation, but Spartan 3 Dante, he does this berserk mode. He takes quite a few hits. His guts are hanging out, and he doesn't feel anything. And then once he kind of calms down, he just dies. It's like, hey guys, I just killed all this shit.
Yeah,
and dies. It's pretty fucked up. Ghost of Onyx.
Well, I was going to say, in Last Light, Olivia has a similar moment where her legs are, like, shattered, and she still, like, jumps up and just starts beating the shit out of the Sentinel.
Oh, my, that was so good.
Oh, God. What's his name?
Fred or...
Spartan 2, yeah, Fred. It had to, like, literally come up behind her and, like, assault rifle to the back of the head.
Yep.
It was... because she would not stop. She was just tearing away at the thing. Just damn. And then the whole story after that is kind of like all of them going off their smoothers, and you're like, what's going to happen? I wish they would have taken that a little further. I don't think they take it far enough. I think they like start to kind of explore the idea, but I think that if I had one problem with the writing in those books, and it's, Last Light, the one in Fractures, I can't remember the name of, and
I know
Retribution.
Yeah. No, I was just trying to remember the one from not Tales from Space, Fractures, but I'm drawing a blank on it too.
I have it on audiobook, so it's like it just says chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, that one. So the one thing is, I think I love those books, by the way. But if I had to have like a criticism, I think the writer gets too caught up in like trying to put a mystery in the book that he tells us the solution to within the first couple of chapters. That's like, okay. This isn't really a mystery book. You're using the mystery as a plot device where you could like go with other cool things. It's like, come on, dude.
Well, fair enough. I don't 100% agree, but I see where you're coming from there.
But I guess that, you know, because we're kind of still back on the Spartan Forge in the way that 343 has kind of done the lore and the mythology of Halo since, I guess, taking it over. What would, I guess, you know, because we only have X amount of time to see the Spartan Force in the game. And then, you know, we're usually playing alongside them, or we're playing as, you know, Buck, Locke, you know, Vale, and Tanaka. And those characters were just bad, I think, pretty much across the board. And it wasn't necessarily that they were bad. It was like, we have X amount of time, so we're going to, like, bullet point stereotype, bullet point stereotype, bullet point stereotype, and throw these characters at you when what you want to be doing is playing as Chief and Blue Team. You think that's a fair analysis of what happened with Halo 5? At least the backlash of why people don't like it?
I definitely think that's a part of it. Like I've said for a while now, I think Halo 5 would have been better received if you dropped the 5 from the name and cut out all the Blue Team perspective. Because I think the big thing is once, you know, the second you put a number on there and make it a mainstream a main entry game, people do have that expectation. Yeah, I want to play as Chief. But I think if they had tried to make that mystery, you know, why is Chief going AWOL and what are these Guardians doing? And they hadn't revealed exactly what was going on in the second level, and you might have had a better experience, you know, playing as these new Spartan characters.
So it's hard to kind of what I was saying with the books, where it's like the mystery kind of comes out in the second, and it's like, well, okay, I know what's going on. Yeah, it's like if the second you know what's going on with Cortana, like everyone says, oh, the hunt was so boring because it ends right away. The hunt actually doesn't, but it's just not interesting because the hunt goes on for the rest of the game still. You're still hunting after Chief, but you already know what's going on there. There's no mystery to entice you as much. Okay.
There's I don't know, at least that's my perspective. No, I could be entirely wrong.
I like that idea because it's kind of like the ODST idea, right? Where Buck was introduced to us and he's kind of like a I wouldn't say side character, but he definitely isn't one of them that you spend the most time with. I think they divide it up pretty evenly across the board. Mm-hmm. But yet, because he's Nathan Fillion, because he's, you know, such a charismatic person in the games, it's like, oh yeah, dude, I want to see more Buck. So then he's in Reach, and then he's, you know, Spartan 4 now, and so I think everybody wants to see Buck as like maybe the leader of Osiris, which he was supposed to be if you get the pamphlet, but he was like, nah, I don't want to lead a squad. But Ondy's like, you're going to though, whether you like it or not, like it's going to happen.
You're a leader, Buck. We need you to lead.
Yeah. So I think if they would have, I like that. I like the idea of maybe have divide Halo 5 into like 2 games. Yeah. Where it's like, or even offload like the beginning of Halo 5 into like one section, and then the rest of Halo 5 into its other section instead of going
a split
jump, you know,
like a true dual campaigns rather than a split campaign. That could have worked too, I think.
Yeah,
dedicate a good amount of time to both Osiris and Blue Team.
Yeah, because you're not like just getting in. You're like, oh yeah, man, I like playing as Kelly because she's got the shotgun and she can run quicker and she can regen her health quicker, and you're getting this experience. And then, oh well, now I got to go play as Buck or, you know, somebody else.
These other guys.
Not feeling it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I actually really like that idea. That's a really great idea. It is. I
mean, fun fact, the Halo 5 was supposed to be a spin-off game, and then I don't know what happened after that. Somebody said, we're going to slap a 5 on there and force Chief in as a playable character, I mean. But yeah.
Maybe it focus tested poorly.
I don't know.
Like we need a Halo game now because people are getting antsy. And
yeah, I could see the focus testing thing being an explanation. Which, God, I just want to kill focus test groups.
Yeah,
they ruin so much for me sometimes.
Oh yeah. So I mean, what else do you know on that? That's kind of interesting, or is that just it? Like
that's mostly it. Like, no, yeah, it's something I picked up one of the times I went to PAX, and got to talk to some of the devs, the 343 devs.
That's cool.
But yeah, which like I kind of figured that might have been the case at some point, but to actually hear it was good confirmation. I mean,
yeah,
even just to make it even better, just if you had,
I mean, that makes sense though.
Get rid of Osiris entirely and done Majestic, or had Spartan Thorn on there to have some connection to Halo 4, some stronger connection. I know why they dropped him, because the actor was unavailable essentially, but they had some good build up, and he was generally speaking, even among the most ardent Spartan 4 haters, for lack of a better term. I don't want to say like
people
hater
who are disenfranchised with the Spartan 4s.
Yes, thank you. I don't want to be insulting to that group, unless that an individual from that group's an asshole, but that's going to be on that individual.
Yeah.
Anyway, even the most ardent Spartan 4 dislikers, detractors, thank you, that's a better word, I think, still seem to enjoy Thorn in Spartan Ops. And I think, he would have been a better. I think
it helped because Thorn kind of, I don't want to say he was Master Chief-esque, but he was definitely like, you could see that being a younger John, maybe a better tempered John.
Maybe, yeah. I just always liked he was very questioning of, why the Spartans like this. Yeah, he wasn't and he was like kind of open to talking to Halsey. He didn't just said, "Oh, she's the demon lady," like every other Spartan. Yeah. Which is understandable, but at the same, then it's like there's a whole discussion there. Like I can get why some Spartans were like, because they were told this lie that, well, not necessarily this lie, but this half truth that she was kidnapping kids and running experiments. I mean, we did that too, but don't ignore that part.
Yeah, we were only kind of sanctioned that and asked them to do it, and then we did it again. Don't listen to me. And then we did it again with 900 kids.
Just to spend lives for time. Yeah, which is, again, if you're not familiar with Halo lore, Spartan 3s literally trading lives for time. That is the entire idea behind that program. So, in many ways, it's almost it's worse than the Spartan 2 program.
Oh yeah. Oh god, no. The Spartan 3 program is horrific when you look into it. It's like, so not only do you have these war orphans, they're like, they walk up to them basically like, oh hey, the Covenant's taken everything from you, and we're gonna use that rage and that hate and that to foster these soldiers, and then in mass number, 300 at a time, we're going to send them on suicide missions.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's like, and they're still like 8, 9, 10 years old, maybe 12, 13.
Yeah, they were a little more liberal with the age range than the Spartan 2s were, so you'd have them like as young as 10 or as old as 17 being tossed on the battlefield. Is like,
yeah, Carter. I think Carter's the big one where everybody's like, he's a little old for this, but it's just like,
he was 11, where like all his peers were 4 to 6.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of Carter, we could go into either Halo Reach or we could go into Halo lore as like the books and whatnot overall, because I think I don't know how much more we can like necessarily talk about the Spartan 4s. I think you're going to have the argument of, it does come back to Spartan 4s as a unit, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It makes sense. Not only do they have to have the inevitable evolution of the Spartan 4 program, in the lore, as you put it. I just air quoted that. I don't know why. The inevitable evolution of the Spartan 4s within the program. But it does make sense that they would be adults. Now, I think we both kind of agree that has 343 done them justice? Not necessarily. And maybe
it's
that
been a mixed bag, to say the least.
And maybe that is kind of, we did group with Majestic for all of Spartan Ops, and then Spartan Ops got such a bad reaction, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because I don't know how many Halo 4 players there are within the Destiny community, but like Spartan Ops is basically the progenitor to the strikes in Destiny.
Yeah, funny enough, you're not that wrong.
And Spartan Ops had more story. I mean, it is, because like
they were about as fun.
You play a strike, and it's like you're running around and you go through the same map over and over and over and over again, and you get this story. But I think I would agree that it's not as fun, and I think that has more to do with there are so many different AI within the Halo code at this point, so many different weapons and yada yada yada, that I think they are running out of space to have like intelligent AI.
I would not be surprised if that were the case.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to Halo 4.
Yeah.
It's like everyone thought Halo Reach pushed the limits, and then Halo 4 kind of put on art direction specifically. Then Halo 4 kind of pushed that even further.
Oh god, yeah.
At least in some.
It's got like moving bits everywhere, and then like everything has like 50,000 hexagonal fucking patterns all over it. It's just like, okay, guys, we don't need all that. That's cool. But like, bring your art team back a little bit. Maybe save some memory.
Mm-hmm. For the explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you throw a plasma grenade and it just kind of like whimpers out. It's like kind of blue, and it's like.
Or a Phantom explodes and it suddenly becomes like 3 big chunks, and 80% of the superstructure is just gone.
Yeah, it's like you can actually kind of see the where they go. Okay, we're going to take this model out, and we're going to drop these models in.
Yeah.
But so yeah, going back to the Spartan Force, because we keep running in different directions, but I like it. It's good. It's
it's a fun discussion, but back on topic.
The I think the general consensus is 343 could do them better, and actually, I mean, I was going to ask how do you think they would go about it, but I think we've also kind of established that if Spartan 4s, if we got some well-written Spartan 4s in a game, that would do a lot more to endear the entire Spartan 4 group to people. That being said, we haven't seen, I mean, I guess there's Halo Reach, but we haven't really seen Spartan 3s in anything, and they were pretty endeared before that. So do you think maybe they just need a good piece of media in general?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, this is something we've talking about later on, but you know, why not right now?
Yeah.
If I could control the direction of the Halo franchise once 343 took over, rather than jumping straight into Halo 4, which when that happened, I groaned. I'm probably one of the few that did, but I groaned so hard, like, God, not again. I would have done spin-offs. Spin-offs introducing the Spartan 4s and those characters, so maybe we could actually have time to be endeared to them. Because right after you did ODST and Reach, with Chief's story seemingly done at that time, I think that would have been the perfect time to introduce the Spartan 4s, give people a chance to warm up to them, and give them the space to be written and fleshed out that Halo 4 and 5 just frankly cannot give them, because they keep having to focus on Chief at the same time.
Now, I guess this is kind of the big Spartan 4 question. Do you think also one of the reasons that Spartan 4s are so like looked down on is because you can kind of see in Halo 5 where they really were pushing to kind of have this lock replace Master Chief. Like, that seems like an eventuality. And the voice actor for Chief isn't getting any younger, you know?
Yeah. I don't think that 343 is pushing for that, but there's definitely a perception that Halo 5, I think, unintentionally gives that they're looking to replace Chief with a Spartan 4. I mean, there's a theme in Halo 4 specifically where Spartan 4, you know, it's like Spartan 4s are supposed to be the replacement for the 2s or Master Chief specifically, but that was supposed to be more like the theme of the franchise as Chief was kind of discovering himself, rather than literally, we want to get rid of Chief and now you guys are going to have to play as these Spartan 4s, which you don't like. So it's not that 343 was trying to push that, but that kind of accidentally came across, and they haven't yet been able to kind of shake that off.
Yeah, I think just to add to that even, I think the disposability of Spartan, which is kind of weird because Spartan disposability has always been kind of a thing. I mean, Spartan 3s.
Yeah.
But like it's somehow in Halo 4, Halo 5 slightly more unintentionally insulting.
I can kind of agree. Yeah. I can kind of agree with that.
So, now that we've kind of... You didn't change my mind on the Spartan 4s.
I didn't think I would.
But I think it was a good conversation in general.
Yeah, it's a good conversation, a fun conversation, and hopefully people will enjoy hearing that.
But I would be willing, again, I think a lot of people need to be more willing to admit, if they came out with good Spartan 4s, I wouldn't have a problem with it either.
Yeah, I think if they had good character writing for the 4s, stronger character writing for the 4s, that would go a long way.
So moving on to Halo Reach. We'll go to Halo Reach real quick. So, and this is kind of talking more towards the gameplay aspect than anything canonically, because, wow, I don't think we have enough time of day to sort out lore, not lore, rewritten, no.
I mean, I made a 15-minute video dedicated to trying to sort that out. Yeah.
It's a great video.
Which is like half the reason I started doing YouTube at all, was to kind of get that out there. But God, it's not an easy task stitching those together, even with everything 343 has done to try and help that along. But anyway, not what we're discussing.
So we're looking kind of at we just had Halo Online go the way of the dodo. And, and that's an unfortunate situation. Nobody's to be blamed in that situation. But it has kind of brought back to the forefront this question of old Halo versus new Halo, modern Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And with Halo Reach, you kind of have this weird generational thing where people now remember Halo Reach super fondly for, like, the gameplay even. And it's like, dude, everybody hated this game when it was... I mean, that's the Halo community, though. The current Halo sucks. It's the worst Halo that's ever been out, and you know what? The last one, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought it was, and then the one before that one is the best.
Was the gold standard?
Yeah, because nobody liked Halo 2, and then like Halo 3 comes out, and then like, oh no, dude, why isn't this Halo 2? And then Halo 4 comes out, and it's like, no, man, Halo 3 was the best Halo ever of all time. So is Halo 2, but Halo 2 is the gold standard now, and we need Halo 2 again, and then Reach, and yada, 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 yada. But I think with Reach, more so than even Halo 4 and Halo 5, had wound up doing more damage to the franchise as far as gameplay goes, because it's where we got a lot of these systems, and it's like, well, once it's there, can you go back? Once it's expected, can you go back? And I think that's the bigger question going forward with Halo as a franchise. So, what do you think?
Yeah, that's something I discuss a lot on specifically Reddit, but in general, because I say Reddit because that's usually where I'm hanging out these days. But it's something I bring up a lot, and a lot of people misconstrue what I say as support for new Halo. But it's essentially, it comes down to could you revert? And if you were, could you revert, and could you have a large enough audience to justify that? Could you ensure that people would come back? Could you ensure that if you alienate the people that like new Halo like that them going away isn't going to be, or that you're going to have enough new people coming in to justify them going away? Where was I going with that? But that's usually where I break it down to. It's like, it's a gamble. But at the end of the day, I would like to see classic Halo return. But Reach definitely is kind of where everything sort of changed. It's in a lot of ways a playground for a lot of ideas in Destiny, and it did do some cool things. It changed a lot of things in a lot of ways that I think people would find negative. Like, I hate the fucking jetpack. Everyone goes on about armor lock, but the jetpack for me is the biggest, because it breaks
verticality.
Yeah, yeah. It's just terrible. It kills any kind of map control.
Yeah.
Like, as much as it sucks for the game to just stop whenever armor locks in play, at least, I don't know, it feels like it doesn't break the whole map. It just kind of breaks an encounter temporarily.
Yep. Yeah, and you can just wait and like you have your grenades and you just pop it.
And I think like just one of the worst things with that too was that when, you know, Halo Reach didn't even get to be released before 343 were kind of tossed in and set and told by Microsoft, hey, start developing the next Halo title. So, you know, they were given the Reach engine, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we got to start with this and evolve from there. And then, of course, by the time Reach comes out and you get the feedback from that, 343 is already in production, and it's like, okay, do we toss out a year's worth of work, maybe even more than a year, because God knows exactly when they started on that, or do we continue forward and try and make some improvements that maybe we think will bring people into this, or make people like this idea a little more, this new direction more. And unfortunately, you know, from a business standpoint, you can't just toss out all that, like a year's worth of work like that.
Right.
Like, even in the case of something like Destiny, where they rewrote it at the 11th hour, you know, they didn't toss everything out. They just kind of rearranged it. Yeah, reconfigured it. There you go. You can't just toss it out. You got to work with it, work with what you have. So.
Yeah, no. So do you think, kind of expanding on the classic Halo thing, where do you think the compromise necessarily is? Because, I mean, I think Halo 5, honestly, I'm probably crazy, with the exception of Ground Pound and Spartan Charge, which I feel break the game, maybe Clamber, but I like Clamber, so that feels right though. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it takes your gun down, so you're not always shooting. Well, it's a risk-reward situation. Do you want over the fucking wall, or do you want to be able to shoot? No, I want to be able to shoot while I'm going over the wall. Well, then jump. But my issue with Ground Pound Spartan Charge is I think the melee coming out of a sprint into melee has always been a problem in Halo. And now we made it a mechanic. What?
Yeah, no. Generally, at least until very recently, I've kind of defended Spartan Charge, but more recent games have kind of changed my mind. Like, playing Halo 5 more recently, I should say, has kind of changed my mind around it. Ground Pound, I kind of think, is a little more fits in with risk reward, but it could be improved. But as to your actual question, like, where's that middle ground? At one point, I think back during the Halo 5 beta, I would have said Halo 5 was that perfect middle ground. It certainly felt that way to me at the time. But now, you know, it's kind of starting to go. It's still a lot more popular than Halo 4, but it still kind of feels like it's going the way of Halo 4, where it's like, not necessarily in terms of population, but because we can't know those numbers for sure, unfortunately, but in the way the community is perceiving it, where it's kind of just furthering the divide. This doesn't seem to satisfy.
Well, do you think that divide is necessarily from people necessarily hating Halo 5 and Halo 5's mechanics? Or is it like, I want the next Halo and the MCC sucks?
I think it's a bit of both, really. Like, MCC. MCC should have been the great uniter. Yeah. It should have been, in theory, on paper, it is a great idea. It's just
poorly
that release was just, I don't know what happened exactly. You know, I've talked to the devs. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know that it was going to be that broken at launch. And I can see conditions where that would be the case, but, you know, I can also see somebody higher up than them forcing that shit out.
Yep. That's actually kind of what I think. I think it was a mix of both. I think it was like they were testing it internally, and it was like within acceptable ranges in their mind. Like it was broke.
Yeah, and maybe they thought they could get a day one update out to fix it, or, you know.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there is, you know, the whole adage of the best laid plans never survive contact with the enemy. For all we know, it could have been a thing of once it got out to Xbox Live, once it left their, you know, kind of enclosed environment where they test everything, once it got out there, it went to pieces.
Yeah.
Who knows? No, I mean, we'll never know. I would actually really like to see like a Vidoc or something on that, like what happened. But, you know, I don't think that'll ever happen.
Sadly, no.
Because that would be admitting wrongdoing on a scale that I don't think even Microsoft is willing to do.
Who knows?
And then the map effects and that, like the where you could like shoot down the ice or whatever. Wow, man, that should have returned for Halo 5. That was fun.
Oh yeah, dude. The environments, environmental hazards or whatever.
Yeah.
Map functionality, I think, might be a good blanket term. I don't know. Whatever you want to call that, just the fact that you could do cool shit on the maps to kind of change up encounters.
Somebody's up on sniper, just shoot the ice and it falls down and kills them. And you're like, yes.
Got to be a little more, And then if you're that guy up on sniper, you got to be aware of when that ice is gonna spawn and possibly be used against you.
Yep. It added, I think it added a level of depth that for changing the map and I think that's ultimately what sprint and ground pound and clamber and all these are supposed to try to do, is change the way that we encounter things on the map. Now, people may not necessarily like that, and that's fine. You know, I don't like somebody running up on me and fucking meleeing me in the back while I'm like still turning, and I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, I guess. Maybe I'm just bad at the game though, so there is that.
I will agree. Like, at least with Spartan Charge specifically, there's a little too much reward, not enough risk in that.
Yeah, and the fact that you can, like, I think if you couldn't immediately go into your gun, I think it would balance out.
So you can recover way too quickly if you're the one charging.
Now, but that's also to say is I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the stuff that 343 did to punish everything that you did as well. I like the shield recharge thing. I've always been on the fence about that. I'm like, yes, if you're going to have sprint, that probably needs to be a mechanic. But I'm running around for like 5 minutes. At some point, just go, okay, start the shield recharge.
Or, you know, it wouldn't be a problem at all if there was no sprint.
You know, I think Destiny. I think if they tried to do more of a Destiny sprint shield system, maybe it would work a little better. But
I honestly hate the way that works in Destiny, but.
Yeah, but I mean that's a completely different game. Nobody really complains about it in Destiny. We more so are complaining about 4-hit melees and Bungie always tries to do this too. This is gonna be a tangent real quick.
I'm cool with it.
How long have you been playing Halos?
Since 2005, right after Halo 2 launched.
Okay, so you've been there with the Halo 2, we're going to have like 8 melees to kill. Halo 3, we're going to have like melee, shield pop, melee. And then they had to bring it back to 2. And then Halo Reach, melee, shield pop, melee.
Yep.
And they always keep trying to do this, but it never works. Oh, God. Sorry for the tangent.
I'm cool. That's cool.
But I guess now would be a great time to get into the lore, because that's more your sphere of influence, not necessarily gameplay, but gameplay I imagine does affect, you know, the interest of people in stuff like your channel and lore and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if nobody's wanting to play the game, nobody gives a shit who, you know, Spartan 3 Gamma 957 is and what drugs he's hopped up on.
Yeah.
So in the post kind of 343 era, they've done a lot of lore. It's almost insane to keep up with. You've got Greg Bear's Forerunner trilogy. You've got Karen Travis's Kilo 5 trilogy. You've got comics. You got, the Escalation comics. Then you've got the Halo Wars 2 comics. Then you've got Halo Wars 2. Then you've got, 5 different books that I
books every year.
Yeah. And then we got this new book with Master Chief and that helmet.
Oh my god.
That helmet.
I thought Fall of Reach would be the worst of it. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The Fall of Reach animated series, for anyone listening, by the way, since the book is perfect, but that animated series, just the armor design, the helmet design specifically, was just...
Why?
I thought that would be the worst, but then this came out. It's like, I hate insulting it because the artist is clearly capable. It's, in terms of quality, it's really well done, but the design and direction are just terrible.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, we have the wheel, okay?
Yeah.
We know what Spartan helmets look like. It doesn't even matter if this is like a Gen 3. We know what Gen 3 looks like. We know what Gen 4 looks like. We know what Gen 5, yada, yada, yada. So, this looks nothing... I mean, it wants to be a Spartan helmet. It desperately wants to be one, but it's like... It's changed for the sake of, like, changing it, is what it feels like.
It's this weird thing of they have the top half that looks like this Halo 4 and 5 Chief because they want people to recognize that. And then the bottom's like, well, this is set in 25-26, so it can't be the exact same helmet. So let's just whatever the fuck this is.
It's got like the EOD fins out on the side.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like the vents come forward and look like they're almost facing each other. Like there's a missing part of the helmet that's just supposed to plug in there.
Yeah, like
right.
Yeah, like we're waiting for the rest of it. And that's going to be in the game. In whatever the next Halo game is. You know it.
No, I don't think it will be. If only because of the same reason that helmet exists, brand recognition.
Yeah.
Which is become the bane of my existence.
Yeah. I mean, we could dive into art, but I think this is more of a lore. I mean, anyway. The art and the lore kind of go hand in hand, though. At least as far as the way it's represented. But in the kind of pre-Halo 4 and even somewhat Halo 5, 343 really relied on the story outside the games to kind of flesh out the universe and tell what's going on. So a lot of people, when they're picking up Halo 4, they're like, what the fuck's going on? AI rampancy, what's that? Forerunners, who are these? Well, I know what Forerunners are from Halo, but I thought we were Forerunners. Now Forerunners are this weird 12-foot tall dude with 6 fingers. What? And I think that has kind of been a detriment to the games as well. I mean, obviously.
See, I'm not sure that it's necessarily been an over-reliance on the outside lore, because a lot of the answers to those questions are in the game. They're just not always presented very well. Like AI rampancy, that's right in the second level. They tell you exactly what that is, but we could debate about whether or not that's the best presentation. I think it is, but that's another discussion. The Didact, I think, is the better example there for Halo 4 specifically, where he just comes out. His backstory is explained in that huge librarian cutscene like halfway through the game. But that is a lot of information to just toss on the players at once. It needed to be spread out more. And, you do have the terminals as well, but they don't play in-game. You have to go to another app to watch them. So.
Yeah, I think they definitely need to disassociate the games from Waypoint or whatever it is now. Because, I guess that's cool that they have this thing that they can go to and call up. But I don't know if you've gone there lately, because I was doing it trying
the Halo channel? No.
Yeah. It's a horrible place
I know.
to try to navigate anything. And I was trying to find the terminal clips. And, you go to boot them up and none of them play. And it's like... Yeah, okay.
Or they play in, Italian. That's been my most common issue. They always play in Italian or Japanese. I'm like, why? Is Microsoft listening to me? Is this because I said grazie one time?
No, it's all the anime you watch.
Yeah, probably. I do watch a lot of anime. I woke up this morning and watched anime. So.
Yeah, that's what my wife was doing this morning.
There you go.
She watches way more of it than I do. Not to say that I don't watch a lot of it, but I'm just saying, I'm like, how do you get the time? You work and go to school and,
YouTube and... Yeah.
So...
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, so... More so my point of contention with the modern lore of, say, the Halo books. I did a whole fuck, man, is that like an hour and a half video if you put it all together?
Something like that.
The Legacy of Onyx, Legacy of Onyx, and I was just like, I don't like the direction they're taking it with. I don't like the suddenly we've been at war with these guys for like 3 decades and now we're BFFs. Like, so I guess what I'm saying is, in some of the books, it does seem like the timeline to get from point A to point B has been very collapsed. Like, if you compare it to like real world stuff, we're still dealing with the geopolitical fallouts of like World War II.
Or World War I, really.
Yeah, World War I, really.
Yeah.
But in Halo, it's like, yeah, but, within 5 years, everybody's, kind of playing nice. And even in that, it's like, in my mind, just kind of looking at like, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I know I'm about to piss off some elite people. The UNSC doesn't need the elites. Most elites are like one broken leg away from a death sentence. And like,
I think he used that in that Legacy of Onyx review at some point, or one of the comments maybe. So I know I've heard that from you before.
Yeah, or on Twitter.
Maybe one of those places. It was some Halo discussion.
But basically what I'm saying is, and even with the peace with the Arbiter, that only lasts as long as somebody doesn't come around and kill the Arbiter and take his power.
Yep. Which, if you read Kilo 5, that's pretty much what he does in the Last Lands, I think it is. He's going around each keep and say, hey, you don't like my ideas? Kill me.
Yeah. So, but, all it takes is one stray sniper round, and the Covenant War is back on, baby.
If the right person gets involved in power, yeah. And then, there's actually something somewhat... I don't know if irony is the right word, but it's kind of funny hearing you say how it feels too condensed that UNSC and elites are buddy-buddy. Because one of the biggest criticisms I remember from when Kilo 5 came out and even Halo 4 was people were like, wait a minute, aren't we friends with the elites now? I thought that's what would happen in Halo 3. So everyone was like...
That's funny. Among certain communities, I don't want to say it was just like the more casual people when it comes to the story, but because I know it was like some of the hardcore lore fans were in on this too. Is like there was this weird contention where people were like, "Wait a minute, we're supposed to be friends with the elites. Why are we enemies now?" Again, it's like that it's like we've been fighting them for 30 years. They're not going to be our friends right away. Yeah, no. The only problem I really have with the Karen Travis is. One, I'm just not a big fan of her writer. Kind of the same thing with Forbeck. I'm just not a fan of their writing style. And then, like, she went really out of her way to go after Halsey. Oh my God. Don't get me started on that. Like, let's be honest. I'll say this, and I won't say anything more because I don't want to rant about it. I'll say this. Halsey is a terrible person. She's a great character, but she is a terrible person. But, she also has these more... But the way Karen Travis approached it was just... He was shoving her an opinion down your throat without any nuance. It's like every character... They read up on the Spartan files and then said, oh, it's all Halsey's fault. They weren't given the half-truth the Spartans 4s were in Spartan Ops. They were given the whole truth and somehow still didn't blame their bosses for the fucked up shit that was done to Spartans. Like, even fucking Mendez got a pass from these guys, and he was just as complicit as Halsey was. He fucking tortured children. If not more, yeah. He was the guy doing it.
Yeah, Halsey was the one that's like, hey, you do this, and then Mendez's guy, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this.
I got that's why it's like in the Forbeck books, like when Mendez is listed as like this happy old grandpa, I'm like, no, fuck that. No,
yeah, I can't comment too much on that because I actually haven't read that yet. Okay. I'm still catching up on Retribution. But
good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I just kind of catching up on everything so I can hopefully be ready when Forbeck's next book comes out, which is Bad Blood. So
yeah,
I don't know how you felt about New Blood because that'll be Buck again. So
yeah, New Blood was just his writing style doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, I kind of remember you saying that. It's
like reading through it or listening through it, I should say. You know, it's one of those things like, okay, I'm like it, I like it. Oh, they killed the rookie. Fine. Spoilers, they killed the rookie.
I think it's been long enough.
Yeah. They killed the rookie. Fine. What were you going to do with that? A silent protagonist from a off game. Fine. Whatever. But the Mickey going traitor, that's kind of what bothered me, because and UNSC personnel going traitor just in general, and Spartans going traitor just in general, really like sets me off, because you have these characters, right, and they clearly have enough knowledge, especially being Spartans or having actually taken place, you know, in the fights, to know that the UNSC basically saved humanity, full stop. But now we want the UNSC to go away while we're still kind of fighting the Covenant, or we want the UNSC to kowtow to our demands while we're still kind of fighting the Covenant. Like, you realize how close you were to being annihilated? Not that the UNSC and ONI are like the most terrible, like take any Earth organization and government you can think of and just up that by like tenfold of evil.
Yeah.
And you have basically the UNSC and ONI. But, I mean, on that same note, they did save the universe. So it's always kind of jarring, I guess I would say, to see soldiers from those things go, no, you know what? We want to kill everybody involved and get rid of it, or whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. I think that also kind of comes... This is actually perfect since we were all started on Spartan 4s. Here we are back again. In a way, I think it again comes down to just execution. For me personally, the Mickey betrayal made a lot of sense, but I understand why people think otherwise. But like another example is Spartan Scruggs from Halo Escalation. He just suddenly turns bad, seemingly for no reason. You know, I don't know if you remember, he killed a bunch of his fellow Spartan 4s and then
he's like sitting on a pile of their bodies and shit. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck?
And like, I was excited when I saw that the first time, like, oh, sweet, Spartan Traitor, where are they going to go with this? And then it's like, where's Master Chief been all this time? Have you asked yourself that's Palmer? What does that have to do with you?
Yeah, the price of tea in China.
Yeah, I thought, what does this have to do with anything? I don't know.
And it's like
the one good execution I think was Venezia, funny enough, from the Kilo 5 trilogy, and that only kind of really worked, I think, because they were innies from the old, like previously, and they had alliances with Covenant species. So it's like, we don't need you guys anymore. We're pretty well off.
Right. And then I mean, how many Spartan 4 traitors do we have at this point?
Oh, let's see. You have Mickey, you have Scruggs, you had whomever it was that recruited Mickey in Bad Blood. I can't remember. The same one who was fighting with June in space.
Yeah, in space.
That actually, that was the discussion that prompted all this, actually, I think. But regardless. So, yeah, you have like a good handful of Spartan 4 traitors, which, you know, when you have 1,000 Spartan 4s at least, you're going to get some traitors in there, and you can... I think that's good.
Have a better screening process.
Well, like I said, you have like 1,000 of them now, and you're picking from ranks that are like... I wonder, I'm actually curious how big the UNSC military is. Yeah. Like how many people are... Now that I think about it.
Like how big is the pool of candidates?
Yeah. Like, I mean, if we go up by ODSTs alone, there's like 40,000, an estimated 40,000 ODSTs, and then you have your regular Marines, if they show that they're good enough, can be picked, and you have special forces from the other branches. So,
and it even seems like there's people who are kind of, I don't want to say glorified desk jockeys who have become Spartan 4s, but that's kind of what they are.
Are you talking about like Spartan Miller or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple more. But
like the Spartan mission handlers really confused me in Spartan Ops. It's like,
why
are you
armor
a Spartan? In full armor, and you're just directing a mission. Why?
I mean, maybe that armor just feels good, man. Maybe it just rides up right when you're sitting down.
Arguably, yeah. Or like if you read the books, Master Chief and the Spartan 2s are like, hey, it's like a second skin. It feels good, man. So I can imagine that it feels good to keep it on. But why would you bench a Spartan 4? Why would you bench a Spartan?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine?
Like millions of dollars is that armor that guy's just like chilling at his desk in. He's like,
he's chilling in a destroyer. Not actually, but like probably like 1 million credits or some shit like that. Millions of credits worth of technology.
If they're combat effective enough to be a Spartan, right? I imagine that there is somebody more qualified to be doing desk jobs, or handling, Yeah. I mean, I can imagine like a badass intelligence guy becoming a Spartan. Like, I mean, we have in the ferret teams in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are Spartan 3s that, are badass, and spy armor is really getting kind of free and loose with how it can be used, but whatever. You get the normal human like in it, and I'm like, can they do that even?
Actually, actually they do, because they did that back in Ghost of Onyx.
Did they?
Like the Spartan, they had the trainers for the Spartan 3s would be wearing it in order to train with that, to be able to train them, because it's like, otherwise, I don't want to go up against your semi-augmented kid here.
It's just these guys in like full power armor fighting 10-year-olds.
That also happened with the Spartan 2s.
Yeah.
They actually were wearing the old Mark 1s when they were training the Spartan 2s after their augmentations. It's like the only way they could keep up. It's like...
It's like maybe we should have figured out better trainers for this.
Yeah.
Better ways of fuck it. We'll throw these guys in power armor and hope that it doesn't liquefy.
Hope they don't. Yeah. But like even you're talking about like Spartan 3 or spy armor kind of getting wonky. That was like Headhunters for me, where somebody has shields too, and
oh god,
like minor performance enhancements. Like, so why can't they have Mjolnir?
Yeah. Oh God. Do we want to wade into that? Spartan 3s and Mjolnir?
I mean, if you want to, from the lore, they would always have the potential to be able to wear that. They just never could. They just never did, because it cost a destroyer to make back in the day.
Yeah, I think that's because that is still like a huge topic of debate. No, Spartan 3s, and then I think, even if we're to kind of wade into Halo Reach lore a little bit, they were like, well, okay, but these are like specially modified versions of it that they can wear. And it's just like, Halo Reach is this kind of funny game to me, because it goes out of its way to simultaneously seem like it's retconning things to justify things that happen in the game. And then, like, on the other hand, we're playing as Spartan 3s. Like, so obviously somebody read the books and somebody cares enough about the books to go, okay, we're going to play.
And then if you go to the radio the conversations, they reference the events of the books all over the place.
Yeah. So it's like, so like, it's like it was like a buffet, right? They just picked and chose what they wanted. And then like anything else was like,
pretty much.
Because that gets into, what did you call it? I remember you and I talked about this a while ago, like a long time ago. I love bees being.
Oh God, to say the least.
It's like one of those things. It's like Did it happen? There's some things that happen that, yes, it had to have, but or really, because we don't have like a class 2 of Spartans. Spartans,
which kind of throws a huge wrench into half the story of I Love Bees. And so it's like, okay, well, if we didn't have that, was she a Spartan 1? Well, I don't know about that, because that means her younger brother's had to have been in cryo for like 20 years. So he's actually a 50-year-old, even though he's like age 18 or whatever it is. Or was she a Spartan 3? Well, wait a minute. Spartan 3's never died, and they never had any contact with Halsey. So what's going on there?
Yeah,
so, without getting into specifics, yeah. But then it's also just a great story on its own if you didn't have all those plot holes.
I do thoroughly enjoy the audio logs for that. And again, every time they do audio stuff, like radio play stuff, it always turns out so well. Like you have
Halo's just like perfectly fit for an audio drama. It's crazy.
Yeah, you have the I Love Bees, and then you have Hunt the Truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hunt the Truth was the worst thing that could happen to Halo 5. Because it was so good. And then you get Halo 5 and you're like, what's this?
Yeah. Fun fact, actually, the writers for Hunt the Truth, when they were writing that, they knew about as much about Halo 5's story as fans would right before launch.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so
that's fun.
They knew that Guardians were so like there's always these fun fan theories like, oh, did they change the story and that's why Hunt the Truth seems to be so out of place? Or it's like, no, the Hunt the Truth crew were good writers. They just worked with about as much knowledge as you and I would have known at the time of launch, just like next to nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the cool things with Hunt the Truth, and I think maybe it could be jarring to people too, if you're just now kind of tuning in and don't know the story behind it, is when you're listening to it, it starts out like Ben, he's like looking in and doing this thing on Master Chief, and then Oni comes up and they're like, yes, but we want you to basically parrot all this information we're going to give you. And Ben's like, nah, dude, I'm an
investigative journalist.
I'm going to investigate the shit out of this. And he starts putting the pieces together on the Spartan 2 program, which it's this kind of weird, not mystery, because we already know a lot about the Spartan 2 program.
Yeah. But it's fun to see him discover that and like kind of Oni's attempted to cover up. Yeah. And of course, it's also, sorry to interrupt you.
No, dude, you're good.
It's a story meant not necessarily for the people entirely familiar, but also for a story meant for those who aren't. Like,
I was actually about to disagree with that. Yeah, with what I was going to say.
Okay, well, you say your piece, and I'll pick up after you're done.
What I was going to say is like, because it's an audio drama on like a fucking Tumblr that you got linked to, once a week. Only the hardcore fans are really gonna like piece into that, or the people who like really care about the lore and stuff, as opposed to like Johnny, who's gonna like go get it at GameStop when it comes out.
And there's definitely a point to be said about that, but I can tell you that the at least intention-wise, it was meant to be experience. It was supposed to be a fun story for both those familiar with the lore. So it's like, what's coming, what he's going to discover, but it's a fun journey to follow. And those unfamiliar, it's like, wait a minute, Master Chief is a child soldier? What?
But no, I mean, even to that, I think one of the cool things to its credit was when you go in and you're like listening to it, it's like, okay, he's a child soldier, okay, and then you got Oni like shut it all down, because if one thing was going to start a war with the outer colonies, if anything that they have presented so far would start something with the with another insurgency or whatever, insurrection, it would definitely be the child soldiers.
Yeah,
because like they're trying to do that in
you did fucking what, mate?
they're trying to do that in some of the new Halo books and stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of Halo Fractures has kind of tones of that, where it's like the insurrection, outer worlds beating their chest and whatnot. And it's like, you fucking what, mate?
Yeah.
It's I couldn't be less interested about the outer colonies if they tried. Because they all, like, come off as, like, backwater rednecks who wouldn't know how to use an iPad right now. Every time they write them. And it's like, dude, they have Spartans. Dude, they have the Infinity, which I don't know how many people actually know about the Infinity, but goddamn, I mean, you're not, like, maybe it's one of these, like, kind of outside looking in type things, but it's like, you're not going to win that.
No, they wouldn't.
You may have almost 30 years ago. Like, you may have had a chance 30 years ago. Especially with the Gao thing in Last Light. Yeah, when, like, they're, like, basically... Well, and then the UNSC's, like, backing down, too. And I'm like, what? Why? I mean, I know you don't want another insurrection, but, like, really? And then, you know, the guy's got brutes working for him, and, you know, the... Ugh.
Keepers of the One Freedom.
Yeah, I want to fight them, dude.
Dude, a post-war Covenant faction that still believes in the Great Journey and allows humans in.
Yup.
I want that.
Yup. Yo, we've never fought humans in anything but Halo Wars.
Yep.
And that was kind of novel at the time. It's like, whoa, there's human combatants?
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, then they had the Flood, and, you know, it's like, yeah, but what? Flood, well before we've known about them. But yeah, no, to kind of, you know, I know we're all over the place, but it does kind of come back to the umbrella of Halo lore as a whole, you know, how they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think I got to give 343 a lot of props when it comes to that, because it is this huge umbrella of just lore. And I have to imagine, you know, yes, I gave them crap on, like, some of the books and stuff, but you have to imagine that is just a lot of stuff to keep track of.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even just us doing, like, being lore nerds, it's like, let me go look this up real quick. What was that?
Dude, like, anytime I'm putting together a video, I even for all the knowledge that I have in my head, I always have to go back to Halopedia to double check things. Oh yeah,
no, I'm like, what was that? Where's the book? Where's the? So where was that said in an interview? You know.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things that's just absurdly, you know, it's this huge, ever-evolving franchise, and 343 has done an admirable job, even if we don't necessarily agree with the direction of the games, which maybe that is the most important thing, who knows, but they've definitely done an admirable job trying to put it all together. It just lacks in execution a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Or even if not a lot of the time, at least too much of the time.
Halo Escalation.
so much promise.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought by the end of that thing that, like, at the very start, I complained about the art. I never thought by the end that the first 6 issues, or the first 3 issues, even more so, would be the best looking part of Escalation.
Yeah.
When everyone looked anorexic.
Yeah, and then I was looking at Spartan 4 info, and there's this picture, and I'll put it up later in the video when I do the editing. But there's this picture, they're all, like, jumping out of this exploding building, kind of like the beginning of Halo 5. But you got the, what was her name, the redhead?
Palmer?
No, not Palmer.
No.
The redhead on Majestic.
Oh, Grant.
Yeah, she's, like, got her ass cocked to the side, and she's like...
Wait, from Escalation?
Yeah, I think it's from Escalation.
Oh, God. Probably.
Yeah, it's like...
I'll tell you, there were so many scenes in Escalation. There's a really good one from, I want to say issue 4 or 5. It's really early on. It's got Spartan Nia Ray, which was like one of the new... She was kind of a breakout character from that series. Everybody that was reading it loved her. But there's this great scene when they're on this Sangheili colony looking for information about a recent assassination attempt, and, like, an elite sneak up behind her. So she does, like, this 180 with this 180 turn where her ass is facing the same direction as her head. Like, if you can try, I'll send you the picture afterwards so you can put it up for viewers. But she's looking over her shoulder and her ass is still facing, so her ass is facing the same direction as her head, or as her head is looking. And it's like why would you draw someone that way? Why are you trying to show off Spartan Ray's ass?
I get it when you do it in comics, and you know what? There's something to be said for like when that happens in superhero comics, you know, whether we like it or not, you know, stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. But, you know, there's something to be said for it, especially when the art is actually good looking, like it's well done. This was neither.
No, it wasn't. And it's just like, why? I can't imagine why. I don't think any Halo fan is really that interested, is really going to be sold on this comic, because you can see Spartan Ray's ass in this one scene. You know, maybe some comic fan will be sold because you can see Wonder Woman's ass. I don't know, but certainly not a Spartan's like this.
Yeah. Well, Rule 30.
And you know what? At least in comics, I can see Superman's ass too.
Exactly.
I never get to see Tom Lasky's ass.
You know, dude. You know, it's got to be nice, because he's a good bro, man. Yeah.
He clearly keeps up in shit. Keeps himself in shape.
Exactly. You know, he can walk the deck of the Ad Infinity pretty quickly. And he took on that knight, right? Mm-hmm. And he was a warrior. Going in. God.
Oh, I think it's pretty clear he was trying to woo Commander Palmer.
Oh yeah, no, he's like, I'm gonna, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get it, but I want it. That might be
powerful woman,
man.
To
handle. Do Spartan 4s have the same? Now we're getting into fanfic theory. Do Spartan 4s have the same repression of sex drive?
Or sex drive? No.
Okay.
No, they do not.
I wasn't entirely sure on that.
Yeah, no. But Buck and Dare enjoy some personal time in Bad Blood. Or not Bad Blood, New Blood.
Yeah, after he's become... I couldn't remember if that was after he became a Spartan or before he became a Spartan. I don't think there's any scenes after he becomes a Spartan, but it's you know, they still have an active relationship. Right. I'd have to imagine that, like, you know, your really nice shape-looking guy goes and, you know, he gets some augmentation, does some training, comes back like 6 months later, and he's just like a Greek god carved from shit, you know, chiseled from stone. And I imagine you're going to take that for a ride.
Oh, yeah. Especially with the kind of relationship they had.
Yeah.
Have.
Yeah, because he's still got the hair on the chest piece.
Yep.
That's got to be a crappy relationship. They're like 1 week a year, you know, basically. Because he's off on the Infinity doing, oh, God. That's okay. You know what? No, I just I was kind of trailing off, but I know one thing that I want explored in some kind of Halo fiction. After Halo 5, and actually this kind of comes into the next thing I want to talk about, is how Halo fiction doesn't go far enough. It's like everything stops just at, before, or kind of with Halo 5, or it's like after Halo 5, but in a way that takes the pieces off the board, so it doesn't like move the universe forward. Everything is still stopped at Halo 5.
Yep.
I want to see how Buck deals with being on the Infinity, or wherever he's at. I think they're on the Infinity again, right, at the end of Halo 5? I don't remember.
You never see him, but it's implied that they went to St. Helios, yeah.
Well, you'd imagine that the Infinity's there.
Eventually,
going to pick them up, because that's where Master Chief is, you know, and if anybody's going to stop this. But I want to see Buck dealing with the fact that he doesn't know what's going on with Dare in the post Halo 5 landscape. I think that would be a really good story.
And I think I really want to hope that Matt Forbeck dives into that with Bad Blood, because that's going to be a post Halo 5 story.
Is it?
Yeah. It's basically like right after the events of Halo 5, they're on Genesis, and then Buck has to go reunite with Romeo and Mickey to do some mission. So yeah, Mickey's coming back. And I will be disappointed if they don't address Dare, because in my opinion, he did a good job at exploring the Dare-Buck relationship in New Blood. So I'll be disappointed if they don't continue that.
Yeah, I think...
Or at least have like some like moment where Buck's like, I wonder what Dare's up to. I hope she's okay. Anyway, back to killing aliens.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think there are definitely some interesting stories. And I think that story kind of presents itself because we don't really know much about the personal lives of the other characters, but they have kind of made a point of humanizing Buck more so than anybody else. And maybe that's just a product of ODST, where Dare was a character there as well, and they've just kind of played on that, roast in a glass.
I think it would be that'd be the main factor there.
Yeah, but like, I mean, just I don't know anything about Tanaka, or enough to care at least, like we're sitting here talking about like, oh man, where could they go with this with like loved ones and stuff, and we're like, well, Buck and Dare, but like Tanaka, Vale, Locke, did Locke have a family? Like, I mean,
none of them do.
Yeah.
Unless you believe that old theory that Locke is secretly Johnson's son. Did you ever hear that one?
No, but okay.
It was so bad. It was bad. It was so bad, and it so quickly devolved into, you're just saying this because they're both black, aren't you? Which is like, it's hard not to jump to that conclusion, but I know that can't be the only case, because there were some of the people who puts that theory forward, I know fairly well, and I know they're not like, they're not racist, or they're not going to automatically think that, but it was like, God, why?
Wow.
There's
age difference. Just, I mean, I know there's cryo and all that other nonsense, and Johnson's
it's possible,
old.
but it's just not likely.
Yeah. Wow. That kind of blew my mind. I'm like, where do you go with that?
Yeah, there's nowhere to go.
Exactly.
It was just a bad theory, and it passed so quickly. Thank God.
And the Arbiter was his mother, right?
Yeah, probably.
How about the one that Cortana going rogue was actually supposed to happen in Halo 1? Did you hear? Do you know about that?
Oh yeah. I actually talk about that in my Halo 5 breakdown series, if I recall correctly. But yeah, like, for anyone who wants to know, this is on YouTube, the Halo CE developer commentary, if you want to hear it from Bungie themselves. There was an idea that Cortana would go corrupted after spending so much time in the control room, and then she wanted to take over the galaxy with Halo, basically.
So this is what we're seeing with Halo 5, just full circle?
It very well might be. And that kind of feeds into the Cortana letters. Like you had a good video. I just watched it last night about Charlemagne and the relationship to Durandal or Durandal, however you pronounce that. In Marathon, where he's this rogue AI who goes on his own, but then he ends up coming back and being good. Which kind of is like, there's a whole thing in these old Cortana letters that kind of hinted at Cortana going corrupt or kind of going sideways and shit.
Yes, she was definitely. There seemed to be kind of a more unhinged personality in the Cortana letters.
Yeah.
Than ever appeared in the core Halo.
Which kind of feels like what they might be drawing from that now.
Yeah.
But the execution is very, very off.
Especially after the Sendaway in Halo 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a hard moment for me to watch still.
It is. And for me, I just tell myself, and there's lore to back this up. I just tell myself it's not the same Cortana. It's the rampant fragments. Yeah. So it's like, I can I hope they kind of address that in Halo 6 so we can get confirmation on that kind of shit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Well, I mean, it does kind of come off as like Cortana is definitely a little more unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's going around and she's like, as John kind of puts it, you're being familiar using psychological warfare, and then she's like clearly, acting upset and stuff, but it's just clearly to try to manipulate him. To what end, I don't know. Maybe it is like the sociopathic, you are my pet type deal, and I'm going to keep you safe because you belong to me, not necessarily because I care about you.
Yeah. Or even I put this forward in the early days of Halo 5. I get like after Halo 5 came out. In Fall of Reach, Cortana said, makes this promise to John that she'll protect him no matter what. And then you can kind of extrapolate that what she's doing in Halo 5 is kind of this ultimate, kind of insane extrapolation of that promise where it's like, all right, I'm going to lock you away for 10,000 years, get rid of war, you'll never have to fight, so you'll never be in danger again. It's not presented, it's not presented very well.
Yeah,
So
it's not presented
it's
very
like,
well.
And that's just something I kind of put together after the fact. I would love for something like that to be the case, and to be that gets you back to that more emotional core that Halo 4 started with for 343's Halo games, but it's definitely not there in Halo 5.
So what would you think would be a better exploration of the character, where this just winds up being rampancy fragment, where they cop out and it's like, this is rampancy fragments and it's the logic plague. Oh yeah, and the flood are coming back.
Yeah.
Or
see, the only reason I'd want it to be the logic plague ever is to get the flood back, but I can't deny that it's not the greatest idea. Just 'cause there are some plot holes there about the way the logic plague worked in the Forerunner trilogy, which you could kind of explain away, but that would be a huge dive into some lore there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she did spend, a significant amount of time being tortured by the Gravemind.
Yeah. And I think there's a way to explain how the logic plague could work in a logical manner without necessarily being breaking, but I think it would be a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah,
I think the rampancy angle works better, and with the established lore, if you have to, it just works better. But
I kind of like the where you were, or at least it seemed like you were going earlier, where it was like, no, this is Cortana and she's doing this for John, but maybe she's a little crazy while doing it.
Well, yeah, that's basically what I mean. It's like it still ties into like, these are the rampant fragments that she split off, and then the quote unquote good Cortana, that was the one we said goodbye to in Halo 4. So that version of her is gone forever, and you only have this damaged version that
recompiled itself in the domain.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I still like John, but the only way I know how to protect him now is to kind of be a dick to him.
So
lock him away for 10,000 years.
In the Halo Fracture stories, we have the Didact, and he goes back to, what was the planet? I can't remember.
Maithrillian,
yeah. And they basically, long story short, one of the builder/life worker forerunners sacrifices herself to help recompile this rampant, broken domain.
Yeah.
Now, could this, and this is where I'm kind of coming from, especially after that story, could this just be the domain using Cortana as like this avatar, or it's like it's imposed its will on her personality, if that makes any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like, it's the domain has its subroutines that it needs to do with the mantle and, yada, yada, yada. But then it's also got this Cortana personality, and it just kind of threw it in a bowl, mixed it together, and put it on bake. Maybe a little half-baked.
Yeah. It is entirely possible that's a direction. Because there are hints, actually, in Halo Mythos. Did you ever get that? The Halo Mythos book?
No, I haven't.
So in there, it's basically even though it's like this ultimate guide to Halo's story, it's actually also presented as an in-universe document of sorts that was compiled by this. It's one of those things I like when 343 does. Like they'll make whatever the media is also a piece of in-universe media in some manner. Like the Forerunner books. The first one is something called the Born Stellar relation, which nobody really knows what that is, but it's an in-universe thing. Primordium is a conversation between, is a recording of a conversation between Chakas and this Oni crew, and then Silentium was a bunch of audio logs that were compiled together that they extracted from the corpses of dead Forerunners to kind of really simplify that whole thing. So, like the book is actually an in-universe artifact of some kind. But anyway, so in Mythos, there's an AI called the Curator who was like compiling all this data that he found in the Ark systems because he was trapped there and he couldn't interact with anyone, so he just kind of did what he could do. And he talks about how the domain has a bunch of locked doors still, and Cortana doesn't really know what she's stumbled upon in there. So kind of hinting that not necessarily that she's like an aspect of the domain, but maybe that the domain itself, its will, because the domain's alive, it has its own intentions and shit, that it might react to her presence very soon. So I don't know. And it kind of led to this whole theory that we might have to go to Maithrillian to find the source of the domain ourselves and do something with that kind of shit.
That was a really good story too when they did it there.
Yeah,
I was like, because a lot of people are like, oh well, the one story with the flood on the station, that's a really great horror story, and don't get me wrong, it is.
Yeah, but Defender of the Storm.
When they're going through, you get these Forerunners and like all the shit's happening to them, and they're like being judged by the domain. I was like, no, that's a really great horror story. I think that was like the standout story, one of the best stories in there for a lot of people. What was it? Shadow of Intent?
Yeah. Well, by that time I'd already read it, but yeah, Shadow of Intent was in there too, and that was really good. Shadow by Joseph Staten. Always good. It's always good to have him come back and write a story for Halo. Yeah,
Shadow of Intent, for those of you who don't know, I highly recommend, like, either if you don't have Fractures or if you just find it as a standalone. Shadow of Intent is like, you got Halfjaw and he's just tired. He's done.
Yeah.
He is just like, I want to go home and farm at the beginning of it, and he's like, I want to retire. I don't want to fight. I don't necessarily like humans, one way or another, but like I've been doing this like for so long. I'm just done. And then but the Arbiter goes, well, I need you to keep the Shadow of Intent out of anyone else's hands. So he's like, fine, fuck it. And then he's responds to some distress signal, and we get like ninja prophets, and I'm like, wait, what? They don't.
Funny enough, the whole the ninja prophets that you're talking about, the prelates, they were actually hinted at back in the description of a Halo 2 map. One of the Halopedia admins found. It's really kind of funny.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah. Like, obviously, there was no description. It was just like an offhanded comments, like some yada, 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 the prelates, yada, yada. And then, like, Joseph Staten comes back years later. It's like, you know what? I'm going to do something with that.
He is very, like, even what, Contact Harvest, I think that was he did.
Yep.
He's very, like, you're going to read the designation of a battle rifle 18 times a chapter, but damn it. If you're not going to learn something.
Yep.
It's the BA9. I'm like, okay, yep. Joe, we got it like the first 5 times. His writing can be really dry too for people, but I always find it the most interesting because it's like, yeah, but it can be dry, but this is the guy who kind of like created this. So
yeah,
he gets to do that because it's going to be interesting. You are going to learn something.
Yeah.
Like we did with the mini Halos. What? I was like, wait, what? Mini prototype Halos? Okay. That's almost absurd enough to buy it.
Yep.
Like
I liked that they were made out of Onyx too. It was kind of like a nice mini callback to Ghosts of Onyx when they found a Forerunner city made out of the stuff under Onyx itself. It's
and then you have it was kind of interesting because in Shadow of Intent you have people dealing with the effects of actually surviving a Halo blast. I think.
Oh
that
my
was
God,
the
yeah.
coolest part, where they're like, their memories, what they were thinking about, are just gone at that point, and they're like disoriented and stuff because they were just on the outside of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what? This guy? How do Halos work? Because we're talking about like the deletion of like just the complete and utter deletion of memories now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you're like, well, Joe wrote it. I mean, it's true, but whoa, like this,
it fits in with the lore that we know of how Halos work. Yeah. But it's not something you never thought, you'd never think about when you're reading about galaxy destroying weapons. What would it be like to be caught on the very edge of that blast?
Well, think about it. That may be, and now we're going to get into some theory crafting.
Yeah.
That may have been the point.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to necessarily kill the Flood, right? But it may make them forget.
Yeah, it just messes with your nervous system.
Yeah.
So it's like, full blast, okay, that's going to completely fuck you over. What does like 10% of that do, maybe?
Yeah. Still probably fuck anything over within the general region, but like what's the kind of blast wave of that, I guess you'd say, the fallout of that.
It's like, it's like with a regular explosion, everyone thinks about, getting engulfed in the ball of fire that comes out of there, but no one, like, people rarely ever think about the person that's the pressure wave and what that's going to be like if you're 10 feet away, 50 feet away, 100 feet away.
And I think it was just such a great way of exploring that. Oh God, dude, that story's like way more, because now I'm like thinking about like what this would have done to like a Gravemind on the cusp of it, and like how much knowledge a Gravemind would have lost, and like it all kind of starts to make sense that it would do that. Funny
thing too, actually, great as revealed with Halo Wars Phoenix logs concerning the Flood, the Gravemind probably wouldn't have lost any sort of knowledge. Because there's this weird thing where the Gravemind's knowledge is almost non-corporeal. It doesn't exist as in a physical space necessarily, if that makes sense.
It's an organic domain.
Well, not even just that. It's like when a new Gravemind forms, its race memory, as it's described in these Phoenix logs, is reestablished. So all of a sudden, any Gravemind anywhere that's built up would suddenly just have access to all the previous knowledge of the Flood once it's big enough.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like there's more than that, than just than whatever knowledge it accumulated by absorbing all the bodies. There's something more to its knowledge. It doesn't necessarily just exist in it. It's like a secondary domain, really.
Jeez, yeah, and I guess that makes sense because the Flood are the precursor. Well, they're like tainted precursors because humanity thought, what? Let's take this dust and snort it,
and give it to our dog creatures, our dog gerbils, and then we'll eat those.
That was some of the stuff that you hear in the Halo lore. It's like, the Flood are this like ancient species. Okay. And they were created by the precursors. Okay, well, maybe it was... I remember, like, for the longest time, people were like, oh, yeah, it was like a test to see who got the mantle, yada, yada, yada. And it may still have been. But then you find out, nah, dude, it was just, like, ground-up forerunners that they, like, fed to their gerbil dogs. And you're like, wait, what? like, your expectations here, and then you, like, get the answer, and it's never quite as satisfying as you want it to be. But you never thought gerbil dog ground up dust. Like, you're like... This is literally like it's
the most benign. Yeah, it's the most benign beginning to the greatest horror the galaxy has ever known.
Yeah,
it's like we fed some dust to our dogs, and now everybody's being turned into these horrible creatures to feed a massive Gravemind that wants to consume all flesh in the galaxy, and then beyond.
Yeah, and it's just like you dust, just, and you don't see that. That's like the most sideways answer to what the Flood is that I think they could have come up with, because like if they tried to go into it and like did something deep and meaningful, I don't think anybody would have like cared. But like when you get something sideways like that, you're like, well, okay.
It's the genius of Greg Bear.
Yeah, again, I don't think a lot of people could necessarily get through his books because they tend to be a little dry too. But I still love the concept, the high-minded concepts that are presented in it, especially with. I mean, you got to think about he basically created the entirety of the Forerunner culture off of, and then like justified an evil didact and a good didact, the didact that we get from the terminals, and then the didact that we fight in Halo, and he figured out a way to justify all of that in a way that's like, okay, yeah, I mean that's a little bullshitty, but yeah, okay, I'll go with it. That's believable enough. And I loved how he did it, and I don't think the games conveyed it well enough.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. But anyways, so I guess the last bit of question, because we've been doing this for a minute. You kind of alluded to it earlier. If you were kind of ground level, and you're like, we know that in Halo they've gone ahead and decided that we're gonna fight this created story. This is where we're going with it. Humanity versus AI, which has kind of always been a theme in Halo. It's been, you have this existential galactic threat, but then you also have like the shit at home, and then like, you have in this kind of corner, you have the AI, because like a lot of stuff that happened in the Halo universe has happened because like either AI Illuminati or rampant AI or humanity essentially dealing with its creation. And so that seems to be where 343 has gone with it. But where would you have, necessarily gone with it?
Heavy question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, personally, coming off of Halo 4, if I had been given any choice, I would love to see, this storyline of the Chief reuniting with Blue Team, but then dealing with the loss of Cortana, kind of this conflicting, like, I still have this family, but then I lost this other thing, and maybe going AWOL, starting to disobey orders, breaking, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And you could still have Cortana appear like as this manifestation of the domain. That's what I thought she was. When Halo 5 was being advertised, they talked about the ghost of Cortana. I thought, oh, that's the domain choosing Cortana's form because it's familiar to the Chief. And the Chief
would be familiar to Forerunner technology in the domain and stuff like that.
Like he would have access to that because of just because of what happened in Halo 4, the advancing of his evolution. Because you have those moments right after that where he suddenly hears the Didact's voice in his head. Not in Cortana can't. So I thought, okay, so maybe they could tie that in. That's like the early parts of him accessing the domain. Then the domain reaches out to him because something big is happening. Maybe the flood's returning, or the Didact, he's going to come back and start unleashing the Guardians, whatever, the Didact's the one that unleashed the Guardians instead of Cortana. And so the domain's got to warn him about this. And to everyone else, it looks like he's going AWOL, but then it's secretly, no, he's not. He's saving us again.
Yeah, and if he tries to explain, it's the voices in my head telling me about this.
Yeah,
right. They're going to think he's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I have this voice in my head.
But then Blue Team's like, okay, we're going to go along with this because John's never led us astray.
Yeah, exactly. And
then, you get to the end and John's like, okay, Cortana, where do I go now? It's like, oh, wait, it's not Cortana. It's just in the domain. Oh, no.
That actually, I like that. That's...
I think that would have been a lot better where it wasn't actually the Cortana. Hell, even just having it where the Cortana had been the Didact or something, I don't know, would have been slightly better than what we got.
Yeah, oh god, the poor Didact.
He's still coming back. I know he's still coming back, but he got sidelined so hard for Halo 5.
Oh god. You think the Didact's coming back? I mean, he did get a Halo, or a portion of a Halo ring dropped on him.
Yeah, he was composed. They actually confirmed it twice. We have two separate confirmations that he's coming back. Before Halo 4 came out, they confirmed that he would be a recurring presence. And then the library editions of Halo Escalation, the big hardback collections and shit, it had what do you call it, developer or writer commentary. And Brian Reed himself in there confirms that the Didact would be back. So
That's
the guy who wrote him out of Halo 5 is the guy who said, yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Well, did they...
I mean, there's always a chance they'll not do any of that, but...
Yeah, because didn't they just...
I'd be very surprised if they didn't bring him back.
Didn't they recently, within, I don't know, the last year or something, replace the writer on Halo 6?
Halo does have a new narrative director now.
Okay.
When I was at PAX in September, though, he had yet to start the job, so...
Oh, so your guess for Halo 6 next 2 years, or
I mean, I still think it's gonna. I'm still thinking 2019, though. I'm kind of wondering if it's gonna be early 2019 or holiday 2019 at this point. That's kind of, for me, that's where the question really lies. But I don't think it's gonna happen this year. I'll be surprised if it does. Very surprised.
Yeah, I think we'll get obviously probably like an announcement at E3. I mean, Microsoft has to show off something.
Yeah. Because what else do they have?
Yeah, I mean...
Unless Gears 5 is coming, but that's one game.
We're going to get Perfect Dark over Gears. It sounds like they're working on something else, and I think it's going to be Perfect Dark. A reboot.
I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. And then... I think they're finally looking into Rare's library and going, what can we do?
Yeah,
you know, but not with Rare. We're gonna give it to other studios, but fuck Rare.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Rare hasn't been Rare for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, I think if I were to go with it, is I would explore some of these, and I've said it before. I would explore kind of more of a Spartan Ops type campaign where it's like you're going in and you're like dealing with these warlords. You know, you got the guy from Redemption. Is it Redemption or Retribution? Yeah, you got the brute chieftain from there. You've got these elite guys, like Jewel and stuff popping up, and because the Covenant are still like the Human Covenant War didn't end; it just kind of morphed. Is the way that I look at it. So you have these pockets, and why wouldn't you have like Spartans going out and dealing with them? Like, I mean, that's obviously what's happening. So let's do that in a game. That would be kind of fun, where it's like more kind of like, or even if that was just kind of a side mode, right, where you had the main campaign, you had your Halo 5 campaign, and then you had like essentially Halo's version of like Destiny Strikes, where it's like and it's like whether you want it or not, you stepped into a war with a cabal and you like drop in on a world. Maybe it's a world that we've already been to, so they can reuse assets. Maybe it's new maps for these missions. Who knows? But you go in and you drop in and you like deal with this kind of story mission, and it combines the stories instead of just being like singular. And it's like this overarching like Spartan Ops. I would like to have seen a Spartan Ops 2.0, and maybe make that as like an ODST, or attach it to like a numbered game, whatever. But I think throwing out Spartan Ops because people didn't like it, and I think that's 343's biggest problem, is they're way too reactionary. It's like, oh, people didn't like this, throw it out. People didn't like this, throw it out. Instead of going, okay, let's take that back to the drawing board and maybe
figure out how it could work. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, funny enough, they kind of did that with the gameplay. It's like, okay, people don't like this. Let's reapproach it and try and find this middle ground. We can debate about whether that succeeded, but I think they approached it at least correctly. They just need to kind of have that same approach with story elements or game modes in the case of Spartan Ops. It's like,
whatever they
sorry,
did
go ahead.
I was gonna say whatever they did to basic control movement, though. Fuck. I had to get a pro controller just to play Halo 5. So I could go in the settings and do it myself. Ugh. But yeah, I think this has been a fairly interesting, if not off topic and ranty.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
I think that's what Halo needs, is more fun conversations where people can agree to disagree, even if they don't necessarily like it. Because there is, with Halo, with Destiny, with these franchises that a lot of people are hugely invested into. You know, we tend to, even myself, especially myself, focus on the more negative aspects. But it is fun to just kind of come in and go, yeah, okay, these things are wrong, but like, what do we love about it? Why do we keep coming back?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's what this was. So thank you for your time, dude.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun talking to you, dude, and discussing ideas, even if we didn't agree with everything.
I hope this was better than what you thought it would be.
Like, I didn't think it was. I never thought it was going to be bad by any means. Anything less than this, but it was a lot better, a lot more fun than I had hoped. So,
okay, well,
thank you.
Do it again sometime, or
Amen.
Play Halo, something.
Yeah.
Like just bullshit. All right, my dude. Well, that is going to be it for this episode of Halo Lore Ramblings or whatever. I have no idea what I'd call this. But let us know what you guys thought in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.